We've offered a statement for a long, long time, how the universe will surprise and delight you. And Esther used to wonder how that could be, because she would say, if I put everything in my vortex, then I can see how it would be delightful, but why would it be surprising if I put it there? But it's the timing of things. We've been talking principles and laws and processes, so some nitty-gritty is good. Do you think there's a difference between what you're asking for and what you've currently got? And which of those two subjects do you think more about, what you're asking for or what you've got? Maybe what you're saying is, since I let the momentum get going, then I really don't have any control. But is there a point in which you have more control over whether you're thinking about what you want rather than what is? We really meant it earlier when we said that once you've asked, if you could just not think about it again, it would come about. And it's your incessant thinking about it again from your place of not having it that prevents it from happening. For years we've been saying that there's two ways of knowing what your vibrational content is. One is by how you feel, and the other is by how it plays out. So if you wait until it's manifested, that's post-manifestational. If you pay attention to the way you feel, that's pre-manifestational. And if it's something that you want to be different, then catching it before it manifests is always easier than catching it after it manifests. It doesn't matter because you can change anything. So if it feels like it's sneaking up on you, it just means you're not aware, which usually means you don't care enough about feeling good. Sometimes Esther says she and her daughter have this game they play with each other quite often. Would I rather be right or would I rather feel good? And both of them would rather be right. Not really. You'd rather feel good. But when you're humaning and feeling in competition about different things, then sometimes you've practiced, and so it feels sort of normal to you to think the thoughts that don't feel so good. But once you've had a conversation like we've had here today, and once you begin meditating, and once you understand what feeling good really means and what not feeling good really means, then you have more creative control. But really, if you're not aware of what you're doing vibrationally, and so momentum is gaining momentum. Something very wrong with that sentence. Then you really are sort of out of control. But if you've been caring more and more about feeling good, so you've been feeling good more and more, so you feel the dissatisfaction in the early subtle stages when you can pull it back, then as you are on that more creative edge where you have more control, then you have more control. That's why you say you have hot buttons or you have issues. Those issues or hot buttons are those things you haven't tended to, so they're just lurking there. Your consciousness is mostly processed through your mind. But we want you to take a simpler approach to it and just acknowledge that you are a vibrational being in a vibrational universe, and what you think sets your vibrations in motion. And then the emotions that you feel, which you are calling your heart, that's what lets you know what your relationship is with who you really are. When you feel good, you are in complete resonance with your source, and you can call that heart if you want to. When you don't feel so good, then you've got yourself crossways of that. That's just a more simple premise and vibrationally accurate too. Here's the thing. Momentum toward wanted is stopped by thoughts in opposition. Momentum toward unwanted is stopped by thoughts in opposition. Yes? So if you want to feel good and you're thinking thoughts that feel bad, stop it. If you catch it early, you don't stop thinking, you change the thought. In the early days, we call that pivoting. I know what I don't want, what is it that I do want? But if there's enough momentum going, your words just aren't powerful enough. That's why we talk about getting out ahead of it. We've called it pre-paving. When you meditate, you quiet your mind. When you quiet your mind, you stop thought. When you stop thought, you stop any negative momentum. You stop resistance. And then your vibration rises. And then when your vibration rises, now you have access to the thoughts that your inner being is thinking. And those thoughts you don't want to stop the momentum of, because those thoughts are all about bringing you home to all of the things that you've been asking for. Yeah. But you'd rather be right than feel good. And because you've been trained to believe that struggle has a big payoff, that there's no gain without pain. And because you haven't been as feeling, or as, in your words, heart-oriented, you were born that way. You were born knowing that life was supposed to be good for you. You were born knowing that you were good and that source is on your side. You were born knowing that. But then in your humaning, as you faction yourself off into these groups and continue to fight with each other about who's right rather than who feels good, then you lose your place. And there's no way out of that. Have you noticed that you just move from group to group, condemning group to group? Just join a new group and then blame the other groups, and then join another group and blame the other groups, and then just join another group and blame the other groups, and feel terrible through the whole process. Or you could meditate and stop all that thought, because when you're not thinking anything, then there's no resistance. And then you can allow your natural vibration to hook up with what your inner being knows you to be, which is all about who you really are. Not who you were when you were born, but who you have become ever since, the vortex version of you. The true source version of you. Well, in the beginning, when we began visiting with our human friends through Esther, most of you just thought you were me. You just thought you were yourself. And so we began explaining to you that there's the source energy you and there's the you, because we wanted you to understand that that source energy of you didn't all come here with you. Humans think I'm dead or alive, I'm physical or non-physical. It's not that way. You are non-physical always and sometimes physical. So once you understand that a part of you is here physical, and that's the part we're always talking about here, and then there's the non-physical part of you. Well, the physical part of you is exploring the contrast and asking for more, and the non-physical part of you is instantaneously becoming the more that you're asking for during every contrasting moment. So your contrast is our gain. Your contrast is our expansion. Your contrast is what puts the eternalness in eternity. Your contrast is such a good thing. But you want your contrast to be a step one, not a step one. You want it to be a step one. And we always do step two. So are you getting at something more here? Esther would say that, and does even now from time to time, where she'll say, "Oh, that doesn't feel good. What was I thinking?" And if she catches it early enough, she can usually trace the genesis of it. And if you don't, now you've launched a new desire. I want to know what that's about. So now it will be shown to you. Think about what your question is. I want to know what my stumbling block is. I want to know what thoughts I'm thinking that are bogus and that are in my way of something I want. And you'll figure it out, and usually pretty fast. See, that's what humaning does. You think that you've got to get it right and that you want to be perfect, instead of understanding that you are a constant, eternal work in progress. So you can't get it wrong, and you never get it done. And the reason you can't get it wrong is because it's never done. So as that feeling is present now, just ask yourself, what thoughts are a match to this feeling? What thoughts that I commonly think feel like this? Because you've felt it before and you're feeling it now, so you can make an association with what kinds of thoughts feel like this. What are they? So if you can't tell what your guidance is telling you, what desire is being born out of that? I want to be more aware of my guidance. I want to be more aware of it in the earlier subtle stages. You know, there's sort of good news going on here, because the fact that you can't pinpoint it means there's not a tremendous amount of momentum. Because you can't see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it. You can see the humans, the fickle humans, but you can't see your inner being. You can only feel your relationship with your inner being. So here it is. If your inner being did not exist, you could not feel that feeling of its absence. If there were no inner being knowing you, loving you, and calling you home, then you would not feel any resistance as you don't go. But the fact that you feel resistance as you don't go is evidence of the existence of your inner being. You're going to clarity, you're going to enthusiasm, you're going to love, you're going to good ideas, you're going to the path of least resistance, you're going to places where things you want are, you're going to more prosperity and more clarity and more wonderful things. You're going to where everything you've ever asked for, whether you've been consciously aware of it or not, is. That's where you're going. Because that's where your inner being is, and that's what your inner being is calling you to. Not going there sucks. Not going there feels awful. And so acknowledging that your inner being exists, never again will you have that feeling that you won't know. I'm thinking a thought in opposition to what my inner being knows about this. And as you start knowing that, you'll start catching yourself in a thought of not appreciating something or a thought of blame about something, whether it's someone else or yourself. You'll catch yourself in the thought, and then it won't feel like this big mystery anymore. You'll realize, I'm thinking in opposition to my true self. And it's not just the you that was you the day you were born. It's the you that has been evolving ever since. You have become, through your life experience, this evolved, expanded, powerful, attracting being. And when you stand in a place where you're not letting yourself move toward that, then you don't feel so good. In the same way that a question and an answer are on the same stick, but the vibration of the question and the vibration of the answer are different. A problem and a solution are on the same stick, because as you created the problem, you created the solution. As you explored contrast, you have created the expansiveness of your inner being. If you hadn't created a huge expansiveness, you not letting yourself live that expansiveness wouldn't bother you. If somebody called you on the telephone and said, hello, you don't know me. I'm just calling you to tell you I will never call you again. You would say, thank you very much. You wouldn't feel any negative emotion about it. But if someone you really care about were to say that to you, you'd feel something. And so you're feeling, you're not letting your inner being into your experience. That's what you're feeling. That's what it is. You're feeling your guidance. And your guidance is talking to you about a whole lot of things, but it's your guidance that you're feeling. And what it's always saying is what you're thinking right now and what your inner being is thinking right now about the thing that you're thinking about, because your inner being is always thinking about the thing you're thinking about. No matter what thing you're thinking about, your inner being is always thinking about the thing that you're thinking about. In every moment of your life experience, whatever your inner being is thinking about is the thing you're thinking about every single time. Every single time. Do you get that? What you're thinking about is what your inner being is thinking about. But your opinion may differ from your inner being's. For example, you might not be liking you, and your inner being adores you. So then you don't feel good. You might not be liking someone else, but your inner being does. So then you don't feel so good. Or you might be reveling in the fantasticness of something, which your inner being is also doing. So you don't feel the emptiness, you feel the fullness of your inner being. You feel those shivers, or that feeling of warmth or love, that feeling of appreciation. Yes? Feeling of satisfaction is the most glorious state of being, because when you are feeling satisfied, you are in that place where your vibration could move in either direction. There's so much control when you feel satisfied. When you feel satisfied, you could easily pick up some thoughts that are less satisfying and get momentum going off in the direction of what you don't want. Or you could find some thoughts that feel more satisfying, and in a very short period of time, since there's no resistance. Can you picture the emotional scale? And on one end of it is true disempowerment, and on the other end of it is true empowerment. On the end that feels terrible, it feels like fear and regret, and on the other end it feels like love and appreciation. Well, right in the middle of that emotional scale is satisfaction. Satisfaction where you have control. Feeling pretty good about where you are, eager for some more. It's going to be a really good day. All right. We're just taking your vibrational temperature. You're going to live. Really good. That's good. That's a very clarifying thing. Ready?